I was on a job the other day and someone came up to me and asked, why do I spend so much money on camera equipment when my mobile phone can take a better photograph? So I've decided to come into town and put that test to a theory. Grab yourself a drink. Let's see what we find out, shall we? Hey, and welcome back to another video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on what is actually quite a nice mild day in London. We've had a unbelievable sort of weather change in the last 3 or 4 days. If you are in fact from London and you've been sort of suffering, I hope you guys are doing very, very well. So the reason for this video is that I work sort of like a day-ish job, taking photographs of tourists at the Tower of London, which is just over in this direction over there. And I literally had someone come up to me because I'm offering to take photographs of tourists for their sort of souvenirs. And obviously everybody has a smartphone in their pocket. And I was actually asked by one of these tourists, goes, why do you spend so much money on this camera equipment where my phone can take just as good or even better photograph than what you've got right there? And do you know what? They are sort of accurate. They are correct. The technology that is now in phones is so advanced, it's so good, that it is almost impossible to take a bad photograph. So I thought I would put this sort of theory to test. So I'm out here today. We're going to walk a little bit further down towards the river, go a little bit down that way towards London Bridge, and I have brought with me my actual own phone, which is the Goole Pixle 6, and I have brought my little pocket camera, which is the Canon G7X Mark II. Now the reason why I have picked this particular camera, because it is quite similar to size from the mobile phone, plus it is also a point and shoot camera, and you can slip it in your pocket and you can just sort of take it out, turn it on, shoot, and sort of like move on, rather than my Canon 80D, where I've got to probably set a few settings. It's quite chunky, it's quite big, and I thought maybe it would be a better comparison between this camera and my phone. So the rules of this game is quite simple. I'm going to try to take as close as accurate photograph of each location, of each subject, of everything that I'm going to shoot with. And yeah, I'm obviously going to edit the photographs in this, and I'm going to try to see if I can edit the photographs on that, or if I'm just going to show the raws. Haven't quite decided. I might decide that once we are done and dusted with the little walk. So first things first, we're going to sort of pack this little setup away, which, you know, takes five minutes maybe, to sort of take the microphone off, put the lens cap on, put it back in my bag so I can comfortably walk down to the river, and I might show you a couple of photographs that I have taken along the route. So yeah, let's take a bit of a walk further down to the river. Right, so I've walked a little bit further towards the river now, and those were like three, four photographs that I've taken on my way down, and quite clearly I've marked one that's the Canon and one that's the Goole. And I would like to know your opinion on the matter, and throughout this video please write in the comments what you think of both sets of photographs, which one you think is more superior over to the other photo. But yeah, why am I doing this? Mainly because I do feel that the camera phone is definitely sort of rising its game quite a fair bit. And when you actually look at the stats between the Canon and also the sort of smartphone, and particularly the Goole 6 is what I have right here, you know, they are quite similar, but also quite different. So let's have a quick little look at the stats between the two cameras on both items, shall we? So starting off with the Canon, is a point and shoot camera. It has a 20.1 megapixel lens. It has an f-stop of 1.8 to 2.8, but has a 4.2 optical zoom with a cropped compact sensor. And going over to the Pixel, the rear camera has a 50 megapixel camera with an f-stop of 1.9 25mm wide lens. And yeah, that's such a significance when you compare it to the 20.1 of the Canon. But are we actually talking about the camera in the Pixel compared to the camera that is the Canon? Well, not really, no, because in the Pixel, in the smartphone, it is the AI chip, it is the central intelligence that makes the photograph for you. Well, like I was saying about the face and blurrer, yeah, you've taken a blurred photograph, but you can tap a button and all of a sudden it makes the face sharp. It's not making your photo sharp. It's the AI system inside the phone itself, which is analysing the photograph, analysing the face, and then it's sharpening it up. It is creating the photo for you. It is not sort of jiggling about a little bit going, oh, you know, let's play with the aperture there a little bit, or let's try to sort of speed up the shutter speed. It is creating an image to make the face sharp. Same as the magic eraser. It is exactly the same as the technology that you have content aware fill in Photoshop, where if you've got somebody in the background who just sort of like ran into your shots, what that is actually doing is that is looking around that particular subject and then taking parts of the sort of image and filling that up. Now that is extremely intelligent and extremely clever, but is that the camera or the phone or the person operating the actual taking the photograph itself? Because when I shoot with the Canon, I'm in control of all of my aspects. I am in control of my shutter speed, the ISO and the aperture, and I have to sit there and judge and sort of like it is my skill set that takes the good photograph, where it's actually the AI inside the camera phone that takes the photograph for you. More on that in a second. Let's take some more photographs and compare the both. Right, so there we go. So that's a few more as I walked up the river and across London Bridge. So what I was sort of going to say about the difference between obviously the phone and the camera. Now, when I take a photograph with the Canon, you know, it is a raw photograph. It's gathering all that information inside the SD card, and then obviously I've got to take it off and go into Lightroom or into Photoshop and try to bring out the shadows, to bring down the highlights, to try to find the detail in the sort of the overexposed or the underexposed to try to get the perfect photograph. With the actual phone itself, it does all the hard work graft for me. And what I mean by that is that it is designed to take the perfect photograph the second you hit the shutter speed. And that is not anything down to how good of a photographer I am. It's because not everybody who owns a smartphone is in fact a photographer. The cameras in the phones are designed to take the best photograph straight out of camera without any editing whatsoever. So what that actually means is that once you've hit that shutter speed, the AI system inside the phone will sit there and goes, right, the sky is slightly overexposed, so let's bring that down. The colors need to pop a little bit. And that is the main difference. And I think that's the reason why, yes, you can take more superior photographs with a mobile phone. Anybody from my children to sort of like my mother can take a great photograph with a smartphone. But it still takes that little bit of skill for a photographer to take a photograph of somebody or anything with a normal sort of mirrorless camera, DSLR, a point and shoot, because after this I have to take all the photographs that I have taken with the Canon and I have to edit them to make them good photographs, otherwise they'll look really, really crap. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to walk a little bit further towards Borough Market, see if we can take a few more photos, and then let's go back home. I will edit them slightly, not too much, with my own personal style, so that way they can appear in this photograph, and we'll sort of round it up just there. But guys, I'm going to use this opportunity to say, if you've liked this video at any point, please hit the thumbs up button just down there. It really does help out the channel. And if you haven't done already, please consider subscribing to the channel. That way you can stay up to date with everything I do here at Benham Media. But let's have a look at a few more photos and then we will head back to the studio to wrap everything up, and we will talk about what we've actually discovered with the difference of a smartphone and a point and shoot camera. there you have it. Now, I am definitely interested in your opinion on this matter, so please write it in the comments below, or if not, come and find me on Instagram where we can talk further. But let me tell you sort of like my outcome of this entire sort of experiment, so to speak. Yeah, smartphones are definitely getting better from what you would think about 5 to 10 years ago. And you can definitely, without a doubt, take a great picture with a smartphone, and a smartphone can make anybody into a good photographer. But it is the phone that takes the good photograph. What I found out with this is that obviously when the photos came out from the phone, to me they looked a bit cartoonish. That's because the phone itself would sort of color grade for me into what it thinks the picture should look like. It will definitely balance the highlights and shadows to make sure everything looks great. So it literally is a click and go photo. You can take a photograph on your smartphone which is ready to upload onto your social media. When it comes to a normal camera, a mirrorless, a DSLR, anything from a point and shoot to what you would imagine a photographer camera to look like, they come out as a raw image. It is a flat image where this is where the skill comes in as a photographer. Not only do you have to have a look to make sure the shot itself looks brilliant, it is the skill of the photographer in the editing software that can bring down the highlights so you can see the clouds, bring up the shadows so you can see the darker areas, and try to balance the photograph for yourself. So to answer that person's question is, why do I spend so much money on my gear? Is that because I like to think that I am a proper photographer, not just a click and go where my phone does most of the hard work for me. I like the editing process. I like the sort of like the idea of having to really think about my shots. And if you really want to think about the, why do you spend so much money on gear? The Canon G7X Mark II is roughly between £400 and £700 depending where you shop. But the Goole Pixel 6 is between £400 to £500 without a SIM depending where you shop. So they are roughly about the same price. Yeah, with the phone you can do a lot more. You can download apps, you can make calls, you can send text messages. So there is more that you can do for less money when you buy the smartphone. But again, you look at what, you buy the proper camera so you can sort of, I don't know, like, tell me what you think in the comments below. But yeah, I think that is it for this particular video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please hit the thumbs up button and of course hit the subscribe button, and that way you can stay up to date with everything that we do here at Benham Media. But before I go, I want to leave you with one last question. If you are one of these people who believe that you can take just as good or better photographs with a mobile phone, but then you book a photographer for your wedding, for your birthday party, for your event, and then they rock up with just one of these, how are you going to feel? Till next time, guys, enjoy the warm weather, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.